Hello gamers, benignchaos here, talking to you about the latest week, or rather in this case, latest 2 weeks in gaming, and basically what I found the most interesting out of everything that I've heard and played. If you've been following my videos, I apologize for the lack of a video last week. Work was a bit crazy, I had a lot to do at work and at home, and didn't really have time to upload anything or even really read about video games or play video games, so I apologize for that. And I apologize in advance because I'm going to try to keep this video short because I have a thing I want to do, and that is I want to try Awesome Knots. I just found out about it today. I kept seeing it on websites, just the name Awesome Knots, and completely ignoring it. I saw the trailer today, the launch trailer, and it looks awesome. Especially, I think what sold it for me was the awesome theme song that plays throughout the video. So I'll link you guys to that in the description. But apart from that, I do have a couple things to mention. First, kind of a downer, is that Grand Knight's History has been cancelled for a US release. Xseed dropped it earlier this month, and kind of sucks. As you can tell, I'm a fan of Vanillaware's games, as I've already mentioned Muramasa and Dragon's Crown, and I was really looking forward to playing Grand Knight's History. So it's pretty big bummer that they dropped this one. If any of you don't know, it's on the PSP. It's got the pretty similar graphical style to previous Vanillaware games like Muramasa and Odin Sphere, and it's something of a more traditional RPG or JRPG. I don't admittedly know that much about the gameplay, but it looks like it's standard gameplay, or a combat system rather, probably with some tweaks, as everyone's putting in tweaks into their combat systems these days. But that's enough about that. Another thing I wanted to mention was the leaked Rayman Legends trailer. So this is kind of a follow-up to Rayman Origins, and earlier, let's see, this was in April, there was a trailer leaked for Rayman Legends on the Wii U, and firstly, I thought it looked awesome. There were dragons and appeared to be magic, and it was all crazy awesomeness. One thing that stood out, obviously, was the difference in graphical style. It's very similar, but it's updated. I'm not going to say outright that it's better. It's definitely different, whereas Rayman Origins went for some thick outlines and things like that. Rayman Legends seems to have gone for a more... it uses lots of gradients in its textures, and it looks really nice. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. And I still really like the way that Rayman Origins looked, so I thought it was pretty awesome that they're taking it in new directions visually, although still keeping it keeping some of the elements that I've really liked about Rayman Origins, and I'm sure that other people liked. But what really got me thinking about this is that, as I mentioned, this was on a trailer for the Wii U version of the game, which is going to have exclusive content. And while this was only because this was a leaked trailer, it was only meant for within their studio, and some aspects of it aren't finalized. But what they ended up showing, and I'll try to link to this trailer of this as well, if it's still up, was a kind of Skylanders type feature. The Wii U tablet is supposed to have a chip inside that can detect devices nearby, and it appears that Ubisoft is going to make use of this by releasing figurines with similar with chips inside that the Wii U tablet can pick up when they're placed on the tablet, and then this can affect gameplay. And this was shown by, say, putting a figurine of a rabbit onto the tablet, and then rabbits actually appearing in game. And there were other things shown that were similar. So this strikes me as very similar to Skylanders, which is the newest Spyro related game. and I don't necessarily hate this idea. This strikes me, or the way that I'm thinking of this is like hard copy DLC. You buy it and it adds to your game, and on top of that, you have something cool you can put on your table or your dresser, or wherever you put your collectibles. You can have something you can have on display and then put it into a game, and it also means that once you buy it, you don't have to worry about the developers or the publishers having control over that content. It's not something that they could just take away from you, which I remember was a big concern when DLC was first coming out, and I think is still an ongoing little murmur in the back of many gamers' minds. So I thought that was cool. The only major drawback that I'm really seeing from this is that if any of you are familiar with Skylanders, the little figurines aren't cheap. I don't have any numbers off the top of my head, but if you wanted to get the full experience for that game, you had to spend a lot of money. And it was essentially like buying 2.5 games or something like that if you wanted to get everything. Like, it was one game to buy the game itself, and then a game and a half to buy all the figurines. So if this makes the content more expensive, then I'm definitely not in favor of this. But what it really has me thinking about is that seeing Ubisoft do this with Rayman Legends, I have to wonder if other developers are going to do this, because with Skylanders, they had to make the peripheral for the figurines, but now with the Wii U, it's actually going to be built into the hardware. The developers don't need to come up with the peripheral; they only need to make the little devices to actually hold the content, or the code to access the content, more likely. Like these statues of rabbits or something like that. So I'll be interested to see if any other developers start to do this kind of stuff, and just to keep an eye on this. So I've probably been talking longer than I intended to, but the last thing I wanted to mention, over the last 2 weeks, I've been playing a lot of Fire Emblem and Valkyria Chronicles. A friend of mine borrowed my copy of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon on the DS, and that got me into the mood thinking about strategy RPGs. So I started to play Valkyria Chronicles on PS3, which is fun. It's hard. I suck at it, but it's fun. And I also started to play more about play Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, which is the game that early adopters of the 3DS got as part of the Ambassador program. And I've been enjoying that, and it's been prompting me to read about Fire Emblem. And some of you might know about Fire Emblem Awakening. That's coming out on the 3DS, and it's out in Japan, I believe, already. Yes, released just recently in Japan, and has already been announced for a European release date, but there's been no announcement for a North American release date. And it just so happens that as I was reading this, I happened upon some news that on April 22nd, Nintendo registered the domain FireEmblemAwakening.com, which is strongly suggestive of the game having a North American release date. A lot of the murmurs on the internet are that they're just waiting for E3 to kind of have a big reveal for this game, and that we will definitely be getting the game, which is very likely since they're already going through the trouble of having a European release date, or a European localized version of the game. It would make sense to see a US version, and that's not always the case. That doesn't always happen, but it would make sense, one would think. So it'll be good to see that, because I've definitely been in a Fire Emblem mood for the last little while now, and one unfortunate hallmark that this milestone that this game is reaching for Nintendo is that it's going to be the first Nintendo game. I believe when they say Nintendo game, they mean first-party Nintendo game that will have paid DLC. You'll be able to download some characters. there have been articles everywhere about this. Not everywhere, but in some gaming sites. And you'll be able to download some characters from previous games, like characters from Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, and I think you can download Roy as well. I think one of the first ones announced was Marth in his original form, and it kind of sucks that everyone seems to be succumbing to this paid DLC wave. Thankfully, it doesn't appear to be anything too major. They're just characters, and if this is anything like previous Fire Emblem games, they probably won't have much effect. But it's just still a little disheartening to see this, even in Nintendo, which you would think would be the last guys to adopt something like this. All the same, I'm intensely excited to hear that it's probably coming to North America. And I'm also pretty jittery about Rayman Legends. So that's what I found interesting throughout the last week, 2 weeks really, of gaming, news, and just playing games. Leave a comment telling me what you found interesting over the last 2-3 weeks, what you've been playing recently, what your thoughts are on paid DLC and the Wii U. Anything you want, really. I read all the comments because I obviously don't get that many. And I try to respond to as many as I can. That said, have a good week. I'll post another video next week talking about what I found interesting by then. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one, gamers.